I would like to discuss horror and the vernacular. Horror in this case refers to a film genre, particularly the subgenre called J-horror. The concept of vernacular will be explained at the end. This usually means what is indigenous or native to specific locales and also contains elements of transversal and mobility. I would also like to mention at the outset that the subject matter of J-horror is only indirectly related to manga, which is the main theme of this symposium. But I believe that a discussion of its various structures would also relate to issues concerning the production, reception, and distribution of manga. This slide shows cosplay of Sadako. You know, first, I will define J-horror for those who are not familiar with this term. This began around 1990 and collectively refers to the output of a number of film directors, such as, this is a brief history timeline of J-horror, such as Norio Tsuruta, Chiaki Konaka, Hideo Nakata, Takashi Shimizu, who produced TV, video, and DVD horror series, which were then developed into feature films and eventually Hollywood remakes of the key titles in the 2000s, typified by the Ju-on cycle and the Ring series. I'll show you this slide. Ring series include many elements. Novels, TV series, films, video games, mangas, radio series, and pachinko machine. Can you see? CR Ring and CM Ring, Noroi no Narokaka. And this is Ju-on cycle. TV series, video, film, DVD, novels, mangas, video games. I regard each of these works as an aggregate of the technique and subject matter that were collectively shared by these directors at the time, which is why I will be looking at the key works without adopting an altruist viewpoint by discussing the characteristics of a privileged artist. I will, in fact, focus on the various characteristics that these directors shared in common. There are a number of similarities in their approach to filmmaking. For instance, they made low-budget production without using expensive SFX. The production schedules were extremely short, and they produced many titles. Shooting began on video, not film, and many series or sequels of the original work continued to be made. At first glance, it may appear that J-horror inherited the tradition of classical Japanese horror movies. For example, the plots of Ringu and Ju-on are comparable to Kaidan and Onryo-mono, such as Yotsuya Kaidan, in which the spirit of a woman who met a horrible end returns from the grave to curse and kill her murderer and other individuals. It is true that both Ringu and Ju-on feature women whose long hair masks their faces and ghostly children in chalk white makeup who hound characters in the films to death. There are, however, a number of differences in addition to the production method that I have already described that separate J-horror from the classics. The first difference is the weekend causality of the class. This applies also to so-called postmodern horror films from Hollywood. In this genre, the clear link between curses and the subsequent misfortune that is seen in conventional horror films is weakened. Other boundaries became blurred as well. The difference between good and evil, the rational and the irrational, human and non-human, and illusion and reality, all becomes ambiguous, and the source of fear is placed in the midst of this everyday world with its amorphous borders. The movie ultimately do not make it clear whether the spirit or monster was defeated, adopting an open-ended form. format. These, I believe, are the similarities between postmodern horror and J-horror. The story of Juon, for example, unfolds in a house that could be in any suburb close to any major Japanese city. A curse that can be traced back to a vicious murder is, of course, the trigger for all of the horrifying events that take place. But this curse spreads infinitely even among those who do not live in this house. Various boundaries are also made obscure. The second difference, which happens to be related to the first difference, is that the curse is spread via media. This is why J-horror is often referred to as media horror. Typical examples include the videotape in Ring, the cell phone screen in Jackson Alley, and the PC display in Cairo. But the media are more than a mere motive in them. In these films, the popularity of these titles, particularly among younger fans, grew through the media frame, which cuts across the virtual and the real worlds. Fear spread through the exchange of information between mobile phones, rental videos, and DVD reviews on the web. I would now like to consider media frames from the perspective of spatial properties. The two characteristics that I have already described are closely related to how J-horror is represented in space. J-horror films are mostly set in small Japanese houses or buildings. These small spaces consist of walls, doors, as well as many other shielding surfaces, and the gaps in between. Ghosts appear in environments that are actually quite shallow, but are given depth through the multi-layered surfaces and shooting methods. In most cases, however, the characters are unaware of the apparitions and only the audience notices them. In other words, the suspense is emphasized by the visual game based on the match and mismatch between what the character sees and what the audience witnesses. The way that the apparitions emerge in these films at any point and from any spot in these gaps in space, places such as the door or window frames, at times remaining out of focus and not taking any action, suddenly being present at the edge of the frame, or simply crossing the screen constantly heightens the atmosphere of anxiety and fear. The representation of space in J-horror has much to do with the medium of video, which was the starting point for production and the dynamics of its image. Consider the video image taken by surveillance cameras and tapes, which are frequently employed in these films. These are characterized by their shallow perspective and grainy texture, and ghosts are shown as if they had just accidentally been caught on camera. And in the surveillance camera images of Juon and the scenes of the cursed video in Ring, for example, the audience and the film characters who are watching the video will end up sharing a single perspective as the video frame gradually expands to become full screen and eventually fills the entire frame of the film. The space has a nested structure with a frame within a frame. At this point, I would like to refer to the matter of the texture of the video images discussed by Mitsuo Wada Marciano in Japanese cinema in the digital age. As she has noted, the video images in these films are grainy and are in black and white. In other words, the moment that the ghost appears, these movies switch from color to black and white, and as these images are magnified, the texture becomes even rougher, and the entire frame becomes distorted. She argues that this gradual reduction in visual information uses subtraction as a method to warp or destroy our sense of reality and our perceptions, which are normally supported by digital cameras that have become a part of our everyday lives. This study, however, does not take into account the context of paranormal videos which became popular in Japan from the 1990s. Paranormal videos became popular through rental videos and DVDs and were video versions of paranormal photographs. These are paranormal photographs, specific to Japan, which appeared from the 1970s in magazines based on reader-contributed content. I will not go into details here, but while the paranormal photographs of the 1970s relied on photography as an index and its excessive detail as a source of fear, the paranormal videos from 1990 onwards have further additional features to create horror. These include the following. There are many types of paranormal videos. The first, guide to the famous haunted sites. Menshoke, I call it. The second, analysis of paranormal photographs by psychics. The third example, documentaries. And the last example is Noroi no video, cast videos. The videos often follow the format of an edit of a number of videos contributed by amateurs. The structure is that of a frame within a frame. TV screens appear in the videos. Ghost videos recorded by people who watched such videos were edited in the next series. Pause, play, and other video operations were already a part of the recording, forcing the viewer to watch in a preset way. And the source of the curse and causality were vague. The paranormal video inherits the representation of paranormal photography and simultaneously shows these additional characteristics. Spatial representation in J-horror adopts these patterns of representation that are seen in paranormal photography and video. These stills from Hideo Nakata's first feature film, Joyurei, are a typical example. You can see the ghost behind the female protagonist. Here, and here. Have you noticed? A typical example. The ghost depiction has these characteristics. Stillness in motion. It simply appears and takes no action. The margin versus the center. Its position is at the edge of the screen. Obscurity versus clarity. Grainy texture. And an intermediate distance, which is neither close nor far. I think it is significant that the nested structure of the image that frames photographs and other media is the source of fear in both paranormal videos and J-horror films. This relates to what the subculture critic Tamaki Saito describes in his essay, Do Psychiatrists See Multiple Personality Ghosts? He states that the visual frame of visual media guarantees our reality. In these horror movies, where a number of separate frames have been set, fear is generated at those moments when these overlap and share something in common. Video or mobile phone screens do not, of course, appear in Joyurei, which Saito was referring to. What we can see is layer upon layer of disparate narratives, including the setting of a film within the